I'm sure you've heard the phrase, the world doesn't revolve around you. Or maybe you've even uttered such a phrase, the world doesn't revolve around you. Which, is fairly true. There's a lot of people out here. If the world revolved around one individual person, man, that'd be kind of weird. It'd be a bummer. We'd be all, bowing and scraping to this one person for whom the world revolves around. I don't know. I'm not into it. However, something that's been on my mind for a while now, I keep thinking, what really... the first thing that made me think of this is I stand outside and I look up at the sky a lot. It's kind of my thing. If you don't go outside and look at the sky enough, I don't know, bad things start to happen. If bad things are happening in your life, here's a piece of practical advice. Spend more time going out and looking at the sky. Don't think about it. Don't make it a chore. Just be like, man, look at that sky. Isn't it cool? Isn't it great? There's the moon, there's the sun, there's some clouds. Man, the sky's great. Anywho, that's not my point. I went outside at night and I was looking at the moon. And I thought, man, the moon is just looking right at me. Anywhere I go, the moon, it's just looking right at me. You never go out, if you're out with some people or whatever, and you're both standing there and you're like, man, the moon is looking at my friend over there. I wish she'd look at me. How come the moon's not looking at me tonight? The moon's looking over. It looks like the moon's focusing on Texas this evening. But no, that's not how it goes. Anywhere you go, you stand outside, you look up at the moon, and she's looking right at you. Just right at you. It almost makes a person feel like everything revolves around them. You go outside, the sun, don't look at the sun. They say, I've done it, and I've lived to tell the tale, but I would not recommend, do not look directly at the sun. But I can tell you that the sun is also looking right at you. But at the same time, the moon and the sun, they're looking right at you directly, but they're also looking directly at everything else, everyone else, like making direct eye contact with absolutely everything else, depending on your perspective, where you're at. You look up at the moon, she's facing you, she's looking right at you. So from our little human perspectives, the only perspectives that we have real deep access to is our little human perspectives, our individual windows from our own personal bodies. And we experience things and we can imagine what it's like to be something or someone else experiencing the same thing or experiencing whatever they're experiencing. And we can imagine. We can get really visceral with our imaginings, but ultimately the only thing that we as individuals can really truly experience is our own sense of perspective. And we can change our perspective, we can move our perspective around, we can, look out different windows of our soul, but it still remains our central perspective. And you can have experiences of oneness where you experience the perspective of your divine self and an expansive perspective. And, I know a lot of, mystical experience calls for a lot of different things, but so I'm not saying that it's not possible to ascend oneself to a perspective of more openness, more objectivity. less of a personal perspective and more. And I think that's what a lot of us in, these healing growth sort of transformation circles and processes, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to expand our perspectives to include all the magic. But I do think it's important, especially in our day-to-day lives, to remember that the world kind of does revolve around us, revolves around each one of us. And the only thing that you can really count on is your own perspective. And think of astrology, we are each our own, we have a sun sign. And we know from science, we used to think, the planet's there, the sun, it goes around the earth, the moon goes around, that is true. The sun rotates the earth, and we're the earth sitting here, and the sun's going around, and then come to find out, wait, actually, the sun is the center of the universe, and we are the ones going around it. But you think, but when I'm standing here on earth, standing here in my garden, it sure seems like I'm standing still and the sun's going around me. And that goes all the way back to perspective. So we have this perspective of the world revolving around us because that's where we're at. That we are the center point of our own world. And sometimes we lose our center point and we don't really remember where that is inside of us. And so we end up getting sort of lost in what we think is where we want to go, what we think is our path, what other people want of us, or what other people think about what we're doing, or what we want, or what we should be doing, all that stuff. And it's really important to know and understand that we are part of a collective, and that each one of us has a deep impact on that collective, even when we think that we don't, even when we think that we are just, little old us. We don't see anybody, we don't leave our house, we don't interact with that many people. Well, even the most curmudgeonly hermits who never talk to anybody, even they make an impact on the outside collective, on the outside world. And so you have to remember that. But you also have to remember that you are your own sun. You are the sun of your life. You are the center point. Everything else is whooshing around you, orbiting around you, going by, zipping past, wandering through. It's all going across your perspective, your perception. And I talk to a lot of people who are on the spiritual path, and they are some of the most compassionate, loving, just caring people that I've ever known. These people who are delving into deep transformative practices, not just for themselves, but because they want to help the outer world. And so sometimes there can be this thought of if I'm doing all of this work and I'm empowering myself and I'm leaning into what I truly want, me, sometimes we get scared that we're going to go too far in our egotistical sort of way, that we're going to think, I have all this power and I'm God and I know all these things about me and I'm special and all of that. And so what if I go off the deep end and decide to turn into some kind of selfish monster. And I laugh because it's a very valid fear. It's so reasonable to wonder that as you empower yourself, especially as people who have been hurt by people who have had power over us. And so a lot of us are very sensitive about not doing that to other people, not abusing our power. And so it's important to ask these questions of ourselves, of like, well, am I staying true to my deepest divine self, my soul, or am I doing egotistical things? Am I trying to get power over other people? Am I trying to manipulate people? All this stuff. But there comes a point when, man, you gotta trust. You really gotta trust that, no, I am a kind, compassionate person, and doing shadow work, you uncover some spooky stuff about yourself that you may not have realized. Like, oh, wow, I didn't know that I had this darkness or that bad thought. Like, but we all have darkness and bad thoughts. We all have these, like, selfish motivations. It's very normal because of the way that the world does revolve around us as individuals from our point of reference. But if you do enough excavating to get to your center point, and you're in your center point, and you're in your place of knowing, your place of peace, your place of like ultimate self-expression, without any kind of need to prove yourself, without any kind of outside validation, requirements. When you're in that space because you have transmuted whatever it was that you needed to transmute in your life, you actually can trust your internal compass because you're in the center now. You're where you are. You're not where all the stories are. You're not where all the people's expectations are. You're not where all your own expectations are. You are sitting in the center of who you are, and you see what's going by. And whatever your personal internal compass is, mine, I have discovered, is desire. I can very much trust that if I follow what I truly want, now that I have figured out how to read myself and how to communicate with myself, if I follow my internal compass of what I really want, that will always lead me to where I need to be. And sometimes it leads me to a challenge that needs to be taken care of. But it's always for the best. It's always for my own personal growth, if you will, or you know, the collective's need for clarity, openness, you know, all that stuff. All these challenges. When you find a challenge that has occurred because you are making choices from your center point, from, I think Danielle calls it your fulcrum. When you're there, you can make choices sort of fearlessly, because you've learned to trust your navigation system instead of listening to other people's navigation systems. And it would be like, you know, you're driving a car, you got a GPS, you've set in, you told the GPS, hey, this is where we're going. I want to go to the grocery store. And the GPS is is telling you how to get there, you know? Turn this way, go that way, go this way, go that way. But it would be like if you were in your own car and you had this GPS system and it was taking you where you wanted to go. And you didn't really have to worry about it, but you were like, yeah, but where's the car next to me going? Where are they going? Should I be following them? Do they know better than I do where I should be going? Or what about this other car that's going by? Should I check in on their GPS? It's like you can't follow somebody else's GPS in your own car, because you won't get where you're trying to go. You'll get where they're trying to go. Well, you're not trying to go to the gym. You're trying to go to the beach. So in a very practical way, it makes sense to recognize that you are the center of your own universe. That every single one of us is the center of the universe, the center of their own world. And if everybody sort of had the confidence to know that, in a way that wasn't like, that means that I'm the center of the world and you're not. No, we're all the center of the world. You don't get to do that. Oh, hello, friend. Oh, we have a blue jay who has just come to visit. He flew away. I hope you guys can hear the birds twittering out here, tweeting. The sun's coming up. It's a very beautiful morning. Anywho, I suppose the point of all this is that you know where you want to go. Somewhere deep in your soul is the information you need to get from where you're at to where you want to be. Anywhere you want to be. And a big part of it is trusting that that's allowed, like that we are allowed to follow our internal guidance system. You can trust that. If you hone it, if you learn to listen to it, you can trust it. You can trust it like a GPS taking you to the doctor's appointment that you didn't ever go to, that you didn't know how to get to. It's early. I haven't had enough coffee yet. That was a clumsy way to put that. But I think you get my point. And my invitation is that if you feel that you have excavated to the point where you are in your center and you know how to get to your center, and you have a deep desire to help people, that you can't really go wrong following your heart. Because you're not your best friend, you're not your mom, you're not your sister, you're not your cousin who has her shit together, just bought a house, has a great career, but you're not that guy. You're you. And maybe who you are looks a little bit kooky from the perspective of other people. And that's great. That's great because you're going where you're going. And they're going where they're going. And there's no reason that we should all have to go to the same place. There's no reason for us all to behave the same way, to do the same things, to believe the same things. You know, and we incarnate on this plane of existence as whoever the hell we are. And we're told by society, we're told, you know, from all these outside places and people, that we need to change that. We need to change who we are. Like, this isn't right. That's not good. This is how you're supposed to be. And some of that is really useful when you're growing up to learn how to get along with other people. You know, it's not that the collective wisdom does not have value. It does. You know, there's things to be learned about interacting with one another. But we should all we could all begin to honor not just who we are as the center of our own universe and as the director of our own lives, but also recognizing that other people are that as well, that other people are the center of their universe and they're directing their lives. And so, once you stop directing somebody else's life and you begin directing your own life, you get to take responsibility, that sounds fun, right? Oh, yay, responsibility. But then you have the power to do what you want, what you really want. Whatever that is. It gives a lot of freedom. Anywho, thanks for coming to my Hannahble Lecture in the morning. This is the disreputable Reverend Hannah Winters. I don't feel very disreputable anymore. However, I think I'm gaining a positive reputation. I don't know how that happened. But y'all must enjoy my ramblings. So I do deeply appreciate anyone who has made it this far in my lecture and who watches all my videos. It's a treat for me, honestly. So thank you for your support out there in the ether webs. All right, go out and have a beautiful day.